Hello, everyone. Welcome to Save News TV. Thank you so much for allowing us into your homes. As you know, you did not have to. So today we're going to go over the response for from Youngblood for TD Jake's motion to expedite discovery. But before we do that, we're going to read over the affidavit that was sent to um, Youngblood by TD Jakes, and it is dated January the 3rd. This is the service affidavit of service that let's see if I can enlarge this. Let's see, because it looks small. Okay. Anthony DeMasi, undersigned, being duly sworn, deposes and says that the time of service she was of legal age and was not a party of this action on the 22nd day of December 2024 at 12:19 p.m. And I've redacted the address. Documents were served to the undersigned as described. Notice for motion for expedited discovery. Plaintiff's brief in support of motion of expedited discovery. Proposed order granting plaintiff's motion for expedited discovery. Declaration for Darrell Janey, which is the cover letter, which is the um, Jake's attorney, and a true and correct copy of the aforesaid document was served on Duane Youngblood. He was by personally delivering it to them in the hands of the person to be served. And then it goes on with the he is the weight and the race and everything, and that he has been received service. It was docketed into the court on January 3rd, but it was served on him on December 22nd. If you go to um, our previous video that's linked in the description below, we went over the motion to discovery. So we're going to do a quick countdown, and then we're going to get into the reading of the full readout and commentary of it all. Okay, hold tight, everybody. Grab your coffee. You got 2 minutes.
I'm writing lines to lift his name, no need for fame. My spirit fed, his word is spread, saves the aim. Pen to paper, truths I scribe, a soulful vibe. To glorify the Most High, let's amplify. I am spreading the faith I hold so dear. For every tear he's ever near. Choirs rise on Sunday morn, his love we adorn. Each melody a testimony, hearts reborn. In every verse a whispered prayer beyond compare, to lift the hearts of those in dark despair. We testify with every note we sing. In harmony let freedom's bell ring. Rejoice and lift your voice, let the sound of praise deploy. Marching to his beat we go, faith the seed we're here to sow. A standing strong through trials, love's chapter will compile. A beacon shining, grace defining across the mile. In our stories his glory shines, a light divine. Through the gospel groove his truth we move, lives alive. Each Sunday pew, a vessel lined with grace anew. Souls intertwined, the word defined, it shines on through. Lifting high the cross we bear in solid share. The hymn we breathe In Him believe it's love we declare. We're saved by grace in this whole every place. Voice is strong in this soulful song we embrace.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Save News TV. I am your host, A Z Hubbard, and we are so grateful that you allowed us into your homes because you did not have to. And I hope you're having a wonderful day. Well, today we are back on the TD Jakes versus Youngblood case, and Youngblood responded to TD Jake's opposition for his motion. All right, it's going to be a long read. It's 30 some pages. This is my first time reading it, so I don't know what's in it. We'll be reading it together. So, I might be commenting in between. I might not. We might just do a complete full readout. But either way, we're getting ready to get into this, baby. Um, go up, go grab your coffee, go grab your snacks, and let's get into it. Well, here we go. Um, in the United States District Court for the Western District of Pennsylvania, Thomas Dexter Jakes, plaintiff, versus Duane Youngblood, John Doe's 1 through 10. And Duane Youngblood is responding. Remember, we talked about in the previous videos, which I will link below, the John Doe's. TD Jakes wanted a motion to expedite, and he did do that. And John Doe number 1 possibly might be, we do not know yet until it is officially named, might be podcaster Larry Reed of the Larry Reed Live Show. We are not sure at this moment, but he was named with a subpoena. Okay, so let's get into this. Response in opposition to plaintiff's motion for expedited discovery. Defendant Duane Youngblood, by and through his counsel, hereby files the response in opposition to the plaintiff's motion for expedited discovery as follows. Instruction. Defendant Duane Youngblood, defendant, respectfully opposes plaintiff Bishop Jakes' motion for expedited discovery, which represents an unwarranted and premature attempt to bypass the orderly procedures of the federal rules of civil procedure. Plaintiff alleges defamation and civil conspiracy based on speculative and unsubstantiated claims involving alleged statements made decades ago. Further, plaintiff seeks to justify this expedited discovery on dubious premise of uncovering a purported conspiracy involving unidentified individuals, in parentheses, John Doe's, without providing any factual basis for these assessments. Let's move down here because it doesn't say it up here. We're going to take a quick thing down at the bottom and see if Youngblood did get counsel, because remember, we wanted to have counsel for, he was going to do all his things pro se. And we remember in our last video, we discussed that might not be the best idea. So now we see that it was submitted on the 6th, and Tyrone Youngblood, evidently out of New York, did find counsel in Pennsylvania, Brad Sumner Esquire, to allow him to go underneath his license. So Youngblood is now represented by counsel. All right. So let's go up. This should be better for Youngblood, because I think it was a bad mistake for him to try to do that um on his own. We discussed that in depth with the last video. Okay, so we left off here. This motion for expedited discovery is not only procedurally flawed, but also imposes undue burdens on third parties while failing to meet the required threshold of good cause. Courts have consistently denied such fishing expeditions that are disguised as discovery requests, particularly when grounded in conjecture rather than evidence. Here, plaintiffs pleading failed to establish an immediate harm or urgency warranting deviation from standard discovery practices. Moreover, plaintiffs' sweeping and intrusive discovery demands lack proportionately and specifically, further underscoring their impermissible nature under established legal standards. If the court is inclined to grant plaintiff's motion for expedited discovery, defendant respectfully request reciprocal permission to issue subpoenas for deposition testimony and documents from several men who have reported experiencing similar acts of assault and harassment per- perpetrated by plaintiff. This information is critical to refute plaintiff's carefully constructed public persona of fringed emotional distress and alleged and allegations of victimhood. As detailed below, defendants assert that plaintiffs has exploited his position of power within the pulpit to target young men, many of whom have shared with the defendant their eerie, similar, and at times more graphic accounts of misconduct by plaintiff. These testimonies and related evidence are essential to providing a broader context to defendant's statements and establishing a pattern of behavior that contradicts plaintiff's claims of defamation and conspiracy. Accordingly, defendant respectfully requests that this court deny plaintiff's motion for expedited discovery in its entirety. If the court is inclined to grant the plaintiff's request, defendant requests reciprocal in the form of depositions and document requests from additional victims of plaintiff who are all eager to come forth and testify. Okay. Everybody. Okay. So, yes, Youngblood has definitely got some counsel, and he is definitely, because without a shadow of a doubt, there is no way that Youngblood wrote this on his own. So he definitely has counsel. I'm glad we checked on it, and I'm glad that he got some counsel. So now this looks like this is a fight. The writing of this is punch for punch. Maybe we get ready to really get into some things that, as this case goes on, we are going to be enlightened, and it's going to be a fight. Okay, let's get back into it. Allegations from plaintiff's complaint. Plaintiff Bishop Jakes initiated this litigation on November 25th, 2024, alleging defamation per se and civil conspiracy against defendant Duane Youngblood and unidentified individuals, John Does 1 through 10. The claims stem from defendant's public recounting of a childhood incident in which defendant alleged he was assaulted by plaintiff. Plaintiff's complaint also implicates a podcaster claiming they amplified these allegations on widely reviewed online platforms, thereby causing repertorial harm to the plaintiff. According to the complaint, defendant's statement and subsequent discussions on social media platforms and podcasts were part of the broadcaster conspiracy to damage plaintiff's reputation. Okay. However, the complainant fails to provide factual support or specific evidence tying defendant to any coordinated defamatory actions involving the podcaster or other unnamed individuals. Instead, plaintiff relies on compulsory assertions of conspiracy without detailing the mechanisms or participants involved. The complainant further alleges that unidentified co conspirators disseminated false claims to extort money from plaintiff, yet it provides no substanding details such as communications, agreements, or identifiable individuals. Plaintiffs' reliance on vague and speculative allegations underscore the lack of concrete basis for the discovery sought. The described events, including podcasts aired on October and November 2024, are presented without demonstrating any immediate or irreparable harm that would justify expedited discovery. As the complainant itself highlights speculative and unsupported claims, it fails to meet the standard required to warrant departure from standard discovery protocols. Plaintiffs' generalized assertions do not establish a compelling need for expedited discovery, nor do they provide sufficient details to substantiate the requested relief. Okay, this is attorney speak here. Defendant's position. Defendant Duane Youngblood offers a detailed and deeply personal account of his interactions with plaintiff Bishop T.D. Jakes, alleging a series of events that highlights inappropriate conduct and emotional manipulation. These incidents, according to defendant, are critical to understanding his subsequent public statements about the plaintiff. Mr. Youngblood recounts an incident occurring during his teenage years after a church service where he was driving plaintiff to the residence of plaintiff where plaintiff was staying. Upon arrival, plaintiff invited defendant inside for what initially appeared as a pastoral conversation. This discussion turned personal and emotional, providing defendant with an opportunity to express deeply rooted struggles, including challenges in his father-son relationship. However, the interactions culminated in a unwanted and inappropriate advances by plaintiff who attempted to kiss the defendant. Now, remember, everybody, in lawsuits, these are just claims. There's nothing proven as of yet, and we will see as time goes on. Plaintiff TDJ stands by his innocence and says this did not happen. And Youngblood, who is the defendant, says it did. So we have to weigh this information that's coming into this lawsuits um, appropriately. There's nothing that has been proven as of this moment. Okay. So just remember that when we read in these lawsuits. All right. The following morning, plaintiff contacted Mr. Youngblood via phone, during which plaintiff proposed conditions for ongoing relationship. Plaintiff purportedly outlined explicit terms, including exclusionary, secretive, and a promise of financial support. Defendant asserts that he unequivocally rejected this proposed proposition and sought to distance himself from plaintiff, though his continued presence in the church environment made complete avoidance challenging. These events have had a profound emotional toll on Mr. Youngblood, from his impressionable teenage years through adulthood. Defendant has consistently maintained a feeling of betrayal and disillusionment. The spiritual and pastoral role plaintiff held in defendant's life amplified the gravity of plaintiff's misconduct, leaving defendant with lingering trauma and questions about his self-worth and faith. Years later, under the direction of the senior church leader, efforts were made to mend the strained relationship between plaintiff and Mr. Youngblood. Defendant alleges that during the private conversation at this time, plaintiff admitted to inappropriate behavior, attributing it to his own struggles and rise in prominence within the religious community. Despite this interaction, defendant states that trust could not be restored. The relationship between defendant and plaintiff has remained tense and marked by distrust. While both parties maintain a professional association due to their roles within their shared religious organization, defendant asserts that unresolved tensions have persisted due to plaintiff's assault of the defendant. Defendant Youngblood has been rehashing this traumatic encounter since the 1980s. He has not deviated from his assertions, published a book concerning this incident, wrote letters to loved ones discussing this incident, and sought medical treatment concerning this incident and its related trauma. To say that defendant Youngblood is conspiring to harm plaintiff Jakes is foolhardily at best and delusional at worst. Woo, baby. They they're dropping some shit. They're dropping. Okay, so TD Jakes attorneys was dropping, hitting jabs, and now it look like Youngblood's attorney is throwing jabs. Okay, woo. This is defendant's Youngblood's life experience, which the First Amendment of the United States Constitution affords him the right to openly express. Defendant contends that his public statements about plaintiff are rooted in personal experience and a need to confront past harms. He refutes the notion that these statements were made with malicious intent or as part of broader conspiracy. Instead, plaintiff's position his actions an attempt to address and reconcile deeply personal experience and childhood abuses and betrayal under circumstances that were supposed to provide spiritual and emotional support. Woo! Okay, everybody. It looks like we get ready to get a real legal fight here. I mean, a real legal fight. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we do have a lawsuit on our hands. Yes, yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Okay, legal standard. Expedited discovery is an exception to ordinary course of litigation, permitted only when the moving party demonstrates good cause. And they note Gucci AM Incorporated versus Daffy. Courts balance the need for such discovery against the potential prejudice to the responding party, ensuring adherence to the principles of fairness and proportionality. Factors commonly considered include: one, existence of pending preliminary injunction, whether the discovery is essential to resolving the pending motion for preliminary injunction. Two, specifically and breadth of the discovery request. Courts favor narrowly tailored requests over expansive demands, ensuring they directly address issues requiring resolutions. Three, burden on responding party or third parties. The potential harm or inconvenience caused by compliance with the discovery request is a key consideration. 4. Temporal proximity to standard discovery timelines. Requests made significantly in advance of typical discovery timelines require additional justification. 5. Likelihood of irreparable harm without discovery. The moving party must demonstrate that expedited discovery is critical to preventing imminent or irreparable harm. The Third Circuit and the district courts within Pennsylvania adhere to these principles, often invoking the good cause or reasonableness standard. In Leon versus Tawana Borough, the United States District Court in the Middle District of Pennsylvania emphasized the importance of balancing the urgency of discovery against potential prejudice to the opposing party, particularly when the allegations are speculative. Leon versus Tawana Barrow. Similarly, in Fanasa Incorporated versus Doe's 1 through 9, the court underscored that good cause requires specifically in the request and direct connection to the issues at hand, rejecting requests grounded in broad and unsupported allegations. Additionally, the courts have highlighted the risk of abuse when expedited discovery is used as a tool for fishing expeditions rather than addressing general procedural needs. For instance, in Better Packages Inc. versus Zine, the court warned against granting of a broad discovery request under the guise of expedited discovery, emphasizing the need for reasonable boundaries. Better Packages versus Zing. These principles ensure that requests are narrowly focused and proportional to the matter at hand. Thus, expedited discovery is not a matter of right, but the exception that must be justified by clear and compelling circumstances. Plaintiff in this case bears the burden of demonstrating not only the necessity, but also the fairness of departing from standard discovery protocol. Okay, everybody. I have to get some water. This is a lot of reading, and we get ready to get into the argument. Oh, ooh, that's good. Okay, the argument. A. Plaintiff has not established good cause. Plaintiff's claims are grounded in speculation rather than concrete evidence. The assertion of the conspiracy involving unidentified individuals, John Doe's, is unsupported by specific facts or documentation. Courts have consistently held that vague and compulsory allegations cannot serve as a basis for expedited discovery. In Fanosavi Incorporated versus Doe's 1 through 9, the court rejected discovery requests that relied on the broad assertion without substantial evidence, emphasizing that good cause requires specifically and factual grounding. 2, number lack of immediate and irreparable harm. Plaintiff has not demonstrated that expedited discovery is necessary to prevent imminent harm or irreparable injury. The alleged reputational damage and potential document destruction are speculative and unsupported by any evidentiary basis. The court denied expedited discovery where the moving party failed to establish a tangible and immediate risk to these case inquiries. And they quote IQ Via Incorporated versus Burskin. No connection between request and alleged conspiracy. The requested discovery seeks expansive and intrusive information from third parties, yet plaintiff fails to show how these requests are directly tied to resolving the alleged conspiracy. Courts has emphasized the importance of narrowing, tailoring discoveries to address specific and relevant issues, as seen in Better Packages versus Zen Supre, where overbroad discovery requests were deemed improper. B. Discovery requests are overly broad and burdensome, intrusive into third parties' privacy. The subpoenas target individuals and entities not directly named as defendants, imposing undue burdens on third parties. These requests seek private communications, financial records, and other sensitive materials without sufficient justifications, violating the principles of proportionality and relevance under Rule 26B1. The requested material are far-reaching and lack any direct connection to the plaintiff's allegations of defamation or conspiracy. In Leone versus Tawana Borough, the court stressed the necessity for narrowly defined and focused discovery requests to prevent undue harm to non-parties. Such invasive demands risk overburdening third parties who are tangential to the core claims in this case and the defendant. Moreover, the potential exposure of personal and financial information creates unnecessary risk of harm to third parties' privacies and reputations. Courts have long recognized the importance of balancing discovery needs against these risks, particularly when the discovery sought does not demonstrate direct relevance or necessary to the claims at issue. Okay, so we know that the third party um, subpoena was to Larry Reed and the Larry Reed Live Show, and he did request financial records. And again, I'm going to send you back to our video that we did the last time, and I think we talked about the subpoenas. So it is evident that there has been a lot of conversations behind the scenes regarding this lawsuit. As we know, again, you all really need to go back and watch the other videos. So again, I'll drop them down in the um, chat. Okay. Oh, and also don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. This is a lot of reading, and we need to have your support. So like, share, and subscribe. Okay, excessive scope relative to allegations. Plaintiff's discovery requests span a broad time frame and include materials unrelated to the core claims of defamation and conspiracy. By seeking expansive categories of documents, including speculative financial motivations. Wait a minute, forgot. And perennial communications, the plaintiff approach imposes undue burdens that exceed the permissible scope of discovery. The lack of specified in the request further compounds their overreach. For example, requests targeting all communications between the defendant and any third party over several months are neither proportional nor tailored to uncover the relevant evidence. Okay. Courts routinely reject such expansive demands. In Better Packages Inc. versus Zing, the court required precise and narrowly tailored discovery, cautioning against overbroad requests that effectively operate as fishing expeditions. The courts denied similar in Clone Corp versus Thysensa Crump USA Incorporated. The courts denied overly broad discovery requests where the movement failed to demonstrate a direct and specific connection to the issues at hand. The requests here appear to mirror the impermissible approach, lacking the requisite focus to justify the burden imposed on both the defendant and third parties. By seeking discovery far beyond the allegations and issues certain to this case, plaintiff underscores the speculative nature of their claims and inappropriateness of expedited discovery in this instance. Plaintiff's discovery spans a broad time frame and include materials unrelated to the core claims of defamation and conspiracy. The lack of specificity in the request further compounds their overreach. Courts routinely reject such expansive demands, such as Better Packages Inc., where the court required precise and narrowly tailored discovery. C. Procedural prejudice to defendant. Allowing expedited discovery at this stage would impose significant procedural burdens to the defendant and undermine fundamental principles of fairness in litigation. Premature discovery would focus defendant to respond to extensive and intrusive requests without having the opportunity to fully evaluate or challenge the claims against him. This creates an imbalance, prejudicing defendants' ability to mount a proper defense and diverting resources away from addressing the merits of the case. Okay. Wow. Courts have consistently warned against granting discovery that disproportionately burdens one party while advantaging another, particularly when the justification for such expedited measures are speculative. The court emphasized that the expedited discovery should not be granted where it risks disadvantaging the defendant or causing procedural inequity. Further, granting expedited discovery risks disrupting the orderly progression of the case by preempting the typical discovery process established under Rule 26F. This disruption can lead to an inefficient litigation, unnecessary disputes of a compliance, and an increased burden on the court. The court in Philosophy versus Doe's 1 through 9, the court highlighted the importance of adhering to standard discovery timelines to ensure procedural fairness and efficiency. Finally, the scope and nature of the request discovery amplified the prejudice to the defendant. The broad and speculative demands seek to impose obligations further exceeding the requirements of proportionality and relevance, further tilting the procedural balance against the defendant. Courts have noted such tactics undermine the principles of equitable litigation seen in Better Packages versus Zen. For these reasons, defendant respectfully submits the plaintiff's motion for expedited discovery should be denied to preserve the integrity of the litigation process and to prevent undue procedural prejudice. And they go on to list a court case. The court denied expedited discovery to prevent undue prejudice to opposing parties. Defendant specific requests. Plaintiffs' requests 1 through 3 and their deficiencies. Plaintiffs' requests 1 through 3 seek to establish actual identification of punitive defendants claiming such information is critical for properly identifying the alleged conspirators. However, these demands are legally implausible, burdensome, and inconsistent with legal precedent in the Third Circuit and federal district courts of Pennsylvania. Lack of specifically and factual basis. The plaintiff's motion fails to a fractional. Okay, I just read that. No, no, did I? Okay, no, I didn't. Child, all this reading. Got to catch up. Plaintiff's motion fails to establish the factual nexus between the sought information and the alleged conspiracy. Courts in the Third Circuit require the movement to demonstrate the specifically how the request discovery is essential to their claims. In Leone versus Tawana Borough, the court denied expedited discovery where the moving party failed to tie their request to the concrete facts supporting their claims. Here, a plaintiff merely speculates that identifying the punitive defendants will advance their case without providing substantive evidence of their involvement in the alleged defamation or conspiracy. Absence of good cause. The expedited discovery is permitted only upon showing a good cause, which requires a clear and immediate need for information. Plaintiffs' requests 1 through 3 fail to demonstrate how delay in obtaining this information would result in irreparable harm. Courts have repeatedly held that speculative risks, such as the potential loss of evidence, do not satisfy the good cause. Burdensome and overreaching nature of requests, infringement on privacy rights. Requests 1 through 3 seek broad and invasive personal information about punitive defendants, including their identities and potential sensitive communication. This overreach contrives established principles of privacy protection. The court cautioned against discovery requests that unnecessarily intrude into third party privacy under the guise of expedited discovery. Disappropriate scope and burden. These requests impose significant burdens on third parties and the court system, requiring the production of extensive information unrelated to the claims at issue. Courts in the Third Circuit emphasize that discovery must narrowly tailor to avoid unnecessary burdens. In Philosophy versus Doe 1 through 9, the court limited discovery to specifically narrow, defined information tied to the plaintiff's claims. Plaintiff's broad demands have failed this test. Inconsistency with legal precedent. Failure to meet the Notaro standard. Some courts in the Third Circuit apply the Notaro standard, which requires a party seeking expedited discovery to demonstrate irreparable harm, a likelihood of success on the merits, and a connection between the discovery sought and the harm to be avoided. Plaintiff fails to meet these elements as they claims are speculative and the requested discovery is not narrowly tied to preventing irreparable harm. Presidential guidance against fishing expeditions. Courts consistently reject discovery requests that appear to be fishing expeditions rather than focused inquiries tied to actionable claims. The court denied the motion of expedited discovery where the requests were overly broad and failed to demonstrate the direct connection to claims. Plaintiffs' requests 1 through 3 exhibit the same deficiencies, seeking broad information without demonstrating its necessity or relevance. Plaintiffs' requests and their deficiencies. Requests 4 through 5 and their deficiencies. Plaintiffs' requests 4 through 5 seek to explore the relationship and interactions between the punitive defendant and the defendant Blackburn over the 3-month period surrounding the publication of the broadcast. These requests are legally implausible, overly burdensome, and inconsistent with established legal precedent in the Third Circuit and the federal court district courts in Pennsylvania. A. Legal implausibility of requests 4 through 5. Failure to establish relevance. Requests 4 through 5 lack the direct nexus of the claims of defamation and conspiracy. Courts in the Third Circuit require a clear demonstration of relevance and necessity for the information sought in expedited discovery. The courts denied discovery where the plaintiff failed to show how the requested information substantially advanced their claims. Similarly, the plaintiff's speculative claims that these interactions might reveal collaborative evidence is insufficient to meet the standard of expedited discovery. Insufficient showing of good cause. Expedited discovery is permissible only upon showing good cause, which requires the moving party to demonstrate an immediate and compelling need for the information. Courts have consistently held that speculative assertions above potential relevance does not meet this standard. Plaintiff has not shown how delaying the discovery of these communications until after Rule 26F conference would result in irreparable harm. Burdensome and overreaching in nature of requests. Infringement on attorney-client privilege. Requests 4 through 5 seeks encroaching upon privileged communications between defendant Blackburn and his client. Courts have routinely denied discovery requests that potentially implicates attorney-client privilege without compelling justifications. Plaintiffs' broad and invasive demand for interactions during this period failed to provide safeguards against such encroachment. Excessive temporal and contextual scope. The 3-month period specified in requests 4 through 5 is excessively broad and unduly burdensome, particularly given the limited time frame relevant to the specific allegations in the complaint. Courts in this jurisdiction have emphasized the need to narrowly tailor discovery requests to avoid undue burdens on the parties and third parties. Plaintiffs' sweeping requests impose a disproportionate burden that outweighs the potential of benefit to the litigation. Inconsistency with legal precedent. Procedurally guidance against fishing expeditions. Courts have consistently rejected discovery requests to resemble fishing expeditions, particularly in the context of expedited discovery. The court denied the motion for expedited discovery where the requests were overly broad and unsupported by a clear connection of the claims. Request 4 through 5 similarly seeks extensive information without demonstrating a direct connection to the allegations of defamation and conspiracy. Violations of proportionately principle. The federal rules of civil procedure require that discovery requests be proportional to the needs of the case, considering the importance of the issue at stake, the amount in controversy, the burden imposed on responding party. The court in Leone versus Tawana Borough, the court emphasized that discovery must be narrowly tailored and proportional to the claims. Plaintiffs' requests 4 through 5 failed to meet this standard. Okay, let me give me some water, everybody, because you know this is a lot. Oh, thank you, Lord. Ooh. All right. Plaintiffs' requests 6 through 8 and their deficiencies. Plaintiffs' requests 6 through 8 seek information related to statements made by the podcaster, including their knowledge of the alleged November 15th extortion letter and interactions with defendant Blackburn. These requests are legally implausible, unduly burdensome, and inconsistent with established legal precedent of the Third Circuit and the federal district courts in Pennsylvania. Now he says something. And interactions with defendant Blackburn. Wait a minute, what page am I on? So I make sure page 13. Let's go back up here. Blackburn is the attorney. Why is he saying the defendant is Youngblood? The defendant is Youngblood. Why is he referencing defendant Blackburn? That must be a typographical error or something. Because he must meant defendant Youngblood. Okay. These requests are legally implausible, unduly burdensome, and inconsistent with establishing legal precedent to the Third Circuit Court. The Third Circuit and the federal district courts in Pennsylvania. Legally implausibility of requests 6 through 8. Speculative nature of the requests. Requests 6 through 8 are premised as speculative assertions that additional communications and material will substantiate plaintiffs' allegations of conspiracy and extortion. Courts in the Third Circuit have routinely denied discovery requests where the moving party relies on conjecture rather than concrete evidence. The court denied discovery where the plaintiff failed to establish the factual basis linking the requested information to their claims. Plaintiffs' reliance on generalization claims of potential relevance falls short in this standard. Lack of demonstrated need. The plaintiff has not shown that the requested discovery is necessary to prevent irreparable harm or that it cannot be obtained through an ordinary course of discovery. The courts require that expedited discovery be narrowly tailored to address a specific and immediate need at he talked about the reference case. Here, plaintiff's speculative claims do not justify cumulating standard procedural protocols, burdensome and overreaching nature of requests, infringement on third-party privacies. Requests 6 through 8 intrude upon the privacy rights of non-parties, particularly the podcaster, by demanding access to sensitive communication and data. Courts in this jurisdiction emphasize the need to balance the relevance of discovery against the privacy of third party. The court rejected that unduly infringed on third party rights in the guise of relevance. Plaintiff's failure to narrowly tailor these requests imposes an unjustifiable burden, disproportionate scope and burden. The broad scope of requests 6 through 8 imposes significant burdens on the responding parties. The court in the Third Circuit have emphasized that discovery must be proportional to the needs of the case, considering factors such as relevance of information sought and the burden on responding parties. The court highlighted the importance of proportionately in asserting the validity of discovery requests. The plaintiff's sweeping demands failed to meet the standard and risk overshadowing the core issues in the litigation. C. Inconsistency with legal precedent. Failure to demonstrate connection to alleged misconduct. Courts have consistently rejected discovery requests that failed to establish direct connection between the information sought and the alleged misconduct. 5J Oilfield Services LLC versus Petra. The court denied expedited discovery where the request lacked specifically and relevance to the claim. Plaintiff's requests 6 through 8 significantly lack the necessary specificity to justify expedited discovery. Potential encroachment on privileged communication. By seeking information related to the alleged extortion letter and interactions with defendant Blackburn, plaintiffs risk infringing on privileged communications. Wait a second here. Let me go up here. Why they keep putting defendant Blackburn? Why? 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 Who is his legal clerk? I'm not understanding. Maybe you all can help me understand why you keep putting defendant Blackburn. I'm confused. Plaintiff risk infringing on privileged communications. Courts require compelling evidence of necessary before permitting discovery that may implicate privileged information. Plaintiff's failure to address or mitigate these concerns further undermines the validity of their requests. Plaintiffs request 9 and their deficiencies. It is deficiencies. I'm going back up here. I'm wondering if this was a case that a previous case, and they just extracted this and copied and pasted, and maybe Youngblood put this together. I don't know. But that continued reference to defendant Blackburn is concerning. I mean, one time, okay, this has been a couple of times. Okay, let's get back into reading this. Defendant's request 9 and its deficiencies. Plaintiff's request seeking data and material to augment plaintiff's current understanding about putative defendant's financial motivation to act in furtherance of and in accord with defendant Youngblood's. See, now here we go. Now they got it right. So what do you all think? You think that this is a copy and paste something, or what? Because there's clear errors, because there's only one defendant. We go back up at the top, and it's only one defendant plus the John Does. Um, they are not suing Blackburn. Blackburn is the attorney. I'm confused. But anyway, Let me read the sentence over again. Plaintiff's request seeks data and material to augment plaintiff's current understanding about the putative defendant's financial motivation to act in furtherance in accord with defendant Youngblood's false allegations against Bishop Jakes. This request is legally implausible, unduly burdensome, and inconsistent with legal precedent in the Third Circuit of the Federal District Courts of Pennsylvania. Legal implausibility on request 9. Speculative foundation. The request 9 is premised on the speculative assertion that financial motivations exist in and are relevant to the plaintiff's claims. Court in the Third Circuit require a factual nexus between the requested information and the allegations at issue. In this case, the court denied discovery where the plaintiffs failed to demonstrate how requests the information would substantially advance their claims. Plaintiffs' reliance on the generalized theories of financial motivations falls short of establishing the basis of expedited discovery. Relevance to core claims. Request 9 fails to directly address the core allegations of defamation or conspiracy. Courts have held that discovery must be narrowly tailored to address the central issues of the case. In Leone versus Tawana Borough, the court emphasized the importance of aligning discovery requests with substantive claims at issues. Here, the request 9 seeks to explore speculative financial data that is tangible to the claims of defamation, tangential to the claims of defamation, burdensome and overreaching nature of requests, infringement on privacy and confidentiality. Request 9 demands sensitive financial information without demonstrating its relevance or necessity. Courts have repeatedly recognized the need to protect financial privacy and have denied discovery requests that fail to balance this interest. In Better Packaging versus Zing, the court rejected overbroad requests that intrude it upon financial privacy without adequate justification. In Better Packages versus Zing, plaintiff's sweeping request for financial data imposes an unjustifiable intrusion. Excessive burden on responding parties. The principle of proportionately emphasized in the 2015 amendments of Federal Rule of Civil Procedure 26B1 requires that discovery requests balance the likely benefit of the information against the burden imposed on responding party. Courts in the Third Circuit have increasingly enforced proportionality to prevent overreach in discovery. The court denied requests that were speculative and disproportionately burdensome, enforcing the need for narrowly tailored discovery. Here, request 9 places an excessive burden on responding parties by demanding sensitive financial disclosures that lack clear relevance of the plaintiff's claim. The speculative nature of the request exacerbates its disproportionately imposing significant effort and costs for minimal, if any, benefit to the litigation. Plaintiff's request disregards the proportionality principles burdening the judicial process and the responding parties alike. Inconsistency with legal precedent, failure to meet the good standard clause. Oops. Failure to meet the good cause standard. Expedited discovery is permitted only upon showing good cause, which requires an immediate and compelling need for information sought. The court denied expedited discovery where the requests were speculative and lacked urgency. Plaintiff's request 9 does not establish an immediate need for financial data and instead appears to be efficient expedition. Presidential limitations on financial discovery. Precedential. Courts in this jurisdiction have consistently rejected broad financial discovery requests that is disappropriate to the claims at issue. In Education Common of Foreign School Med Graduates versus REPEC, the court limited discovery to relevant and narrowly tailored requests, rejecting speculative inquiries into financial matters. Plaintiff's request 9 contrives these principles by seeking expansive financial data without justification. Okay, D, premature. The foregoing arguments make clear the plaintiff's requests for expedited discovery are not only legally and procedurally inappropriate, it's premature. Here, plaintiffs has offered no legitimate reason to circumvent the established 26F conference or any other round of initial litigation. Further, given the frivolous nature of the plaintiff's lawsuit, Mr. Youngblood fully anticipates filing a 12B6 motion to dismiss, a likely motion for sanctions, and if necessary, an answer and new matter to the complainant along with other appropriate requested relief. Woo! Okay, let me read this last part, then I'm gonna go back to that part. Um, for these reasons, those discussed and from Mr. Youngblood's respectfully ask for this court of DENY plaintiff's request for expedited discovery as frivolous and premature. Okay, I want to go back to this. So, in other words, remember when Youngblood said that he um, was going to do an anti-slap and everything, and prior to um Bishop TD Jakes filing this lawsuit, there was word around that Youngblood was going to file a lawsuit, his own lawsuit, and then all of a sudden, TD Jakes had a medical emergency Sunday morning, and then Monday morning his lawsuit dropped. Well, so this is Youngblood pretty much attorneys giving notice that he will be filing probably that lawsuit. In addition, they want to have this case dismissed, um, and the answer of complaint and any other appropriate requests for relief. So this is the part here. Any other appropriate requests for relief. So this could be another lawsuit, an independent lawsuit that Youngblood files against TD Jakes. I don't know. Could be. Possibility. Conclusion. Plaintiff's lawsuit is baseless, and that fact will be made abundantly clear to the court in defendant's forthcoming anti-slap motion. Okay, so remember when he said in his, excuse me, gotta get some water, y'all. Y'all see, I'm reading, I'm working for you. Like, share, and subscribe, everybody. I'm working for this. I'm working for this. Like, share, and subscribe. Excuse me. The last video, or one of the previous videos, when Youngblood decided to stand on his own and to go pro se. When he did his lawsuit, and I was saying he just put too much information in there, but he did say that he was going to do an anti-slap. So now the attorney is once again referencing the anti-slap motion that will be forthcoming. Plaintiff is attempting, let's get back into it. Plaintiff is attempting to use this court as a means to stymie defendants' First Amendment rights and to intimidate a third party YouTube television show host from reporting on legitimate claims of assault and misconduct perpetrated by defendant and other members of the clergy. Plaintiffs' actions mirror a well-documented abuses by other clergy who have faced lawsuits by using their positions of power to exploit vulnerable and impressionable individuals. The parallels are undeniable, with plaintiffs seeking to portray himself as a victim while concealing the troublesome history of alleged misconduct. Woo! This court should not permit plaintiffs to misuse the judicial process to silence criticism and suppress truth. In conclusion, plaintiff's motion for expedited discovery lacks necessary fraction foundation and fails to meet the established legal standard of good cause required for such extraordinary relief. The complaint relies on speculative and unsupported allegations, presenting vague claims of conspiracy and harm without any substantiating evidence. Plaintiffs' requests for broad and intrusive discovery are disproportionate to the claims at hand and would impose undue burden on defendant and third party. Defendants, in the stark contrast, has provided a detailed and substantiated account of his interactions with plaintiff, highlighting the context and motivations behind. I lost my that. The defendant, let me read this good. I lost my place. Defendant, in stark contrast, have provided detailed and substantiated account of his interactions with plaintiff, highlighting the context and motivations behind his statement. These narratives challenge the credibility of the plaintiff's claim to underscore the importance of adhering a standard discovery protocols to ensure procedural fairness. Should the court be inclined to grant plaintiff's motion for expedited discovery, defendant respectfully requests reciprocal permission to issue subpoenas to individuals with collaborating accounts of similar misconduct by the plaintiff. Such discovery is essential for providing a complete and accurate representation for the facts and for countering plaintiff's claim of defamation and conspiracy. For these reasons, defendant respectfully requests that the court deny plaintiff's motion for expedited discovery or, in alternative, grant defendant equal discovery rights to ensure a fair and balanced process. And it is submitted by the Esquire, as we went over before, Tyrone Blackburn. Okay, everybody, that is the end of this lawsuit here. Let's have a little discussion here regarding this. We have been on this Read Fest. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe, everybody. Give it to me, give it to me, give it to me. Uh, but anyway, this is the TD Jakes versus Youngblood. And this is Duane Youngblood response in opposition to the plaintiff's motion. So we are going to follow this. I'm sure that we're going to have to see if the judge have ruled on this or when he rules on this. We will be back with that. I want you all to give me your thoughts and comments below in the chat. Let me know how you feel about this. What do you think is going to happen? Do you think that Duane Youngblood made a wise move by seeking counsel and not going off of the pro se as suggested to him in one video? That don't know whether that's where he got his information from, but as we did cover that. We did do a deep dive in that. So I want you all to tell me, what do you think about this? Tell us, tell us, tell us. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe, because we will continue to keep this case updated until it reaches its completion of this case. All right, everybody. Again, let me know how you feel. Want to know. We might do a Q&A on this, and put your comments below. Got a video to follow. Also in the comment section, there will be the links to the previous video. I appreciate everybody for allowing me into your homes. You didn't have to, but I appreciate it. Anyway, like, share, and subscribe. You all have a very wonderful and very blessed day. Bye.
I'm writing lines to lift his name, no need for fame. My spirit fed, his word is spread, saves the aim. Pen to paper, truths I scribe, a soulful vibe. To glorify the Most High, let's amplify. I am spreading the faith I hold so dear, for every tear he's ever near. Choirs rise on Sunday morn, his love we adorn. Each melody a testimony, hearts reborn. In every